the Canadian Grand Prix is underway. Lando Norris with the chance, gets the launch. Lando Norris to the lead of the Grand Prix. Can he slow it down? Kimi Antonelli wins the Canadian Grand Prix and he leads the World Championship by 43 points.
Well done. You got it right. Conversely, I got it completely wrong again, dearie me. But yeah, well done. You picked Antonelli for the 4th win on the bounce, which frankly is amazing for him. But yeah, epic result. And then quite a pretty decent race as well, I thought.
It was one of the best races to go from Miami, which was an absolute snooze fest. And then we get literally the best race of the season so far, I think. There were so many issues going on. There was so many brilliant drives and absolute sort of like winnings of people that shouldn't really have been on the podium. I know we'll get to it. But they did a really good drive. I mean, just to start, what I did get absolutely amazed by was the amount of retirements and mechanical issues. What did you think of that?
Yeah, bit of a car breaker, really, wasn't it? Which isn't really what Canada's known for. A surprising amount. I mean, it does probably coincide with potentially the upgrade packages that were brought. Lots and lots of new parts, so maybe that was part of the issue. Surprising, though, that we had engine failures and gearbox failures. That's something that you don't really see these days. Obviously, we had Hadjar's engine blowout on the sprint race, wasn't it? And then we've got the horrendous sound of Norris's gearbox eating itself, which was awful to hear. Anybody who's got any sort of mechanical sympathy, I'm sure you're with me on that one. That was horrendous. What else did we have? We had Perez's front right suspension leaving the chat. That had enough. That went to the pub or somewhere. I don't know where I ended up, but yeah, that was broken. Weirdly, though, I mean, I don't think anybody's so far seen him hit a wall. Could have been a curb, to be fair. It could have been too many curbs that caused the failure, but it just looked like the lower arm just failed all on its own in a straight line. It's a bit of a weird one. Lucky for him, he was near the pits, to be fair, because he could just coast in. Yeah, very strange for modern F1 to have so many mechanical retirements.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw Perez's arm just like snap, it reminded me when, was it Kvyat? His 2 wheels just exploded and then he just went straight into the barrier.
It became a canoe, yeah.
Yeah, but then for them all to happen at once, it was just very odd. I mean, it didn't rain in Canada, which was weird.
Yeah.
And then we had Norris with the gearbox, as you've said. But then I think the main thing was actually George. It just complete power unit failure. It went over the grass a little bit and just died. I thought that was absolutely incredible. And it's definitely something the team's going to go back and go, what's gone wrong and why? Because that could mean the chance of his championship. Everything always comes down to one of many points, as it always does in Formula One.
That is true. I'm not 100% sure the going off the track was what caused it. I haven't seen anything to the contrary, but I can't help wondering that his power unit failed before that. And that was kind of either the cause of him going off or him just going, I'm just going to pull off the circuit because I've got no power. I'm not sure at which point. I'd have to study the onboard to figure that out, but I'm not sure at which point his power unit actually let go. But it was monumental. It was like total catastrophic failure. I didn't hear the same sort of mechanical gremlins, noises, whatever you want to call it, when his engine did go. So I think it was probably more on the electrical side, perhaps. I'm not sure.
But it just sounded like it died. Like you just heard the high revs and then just slowly dropped down, and then it was literally just game over, basically.
Yeah. I mean, there was no crunching, though. It's not like it threw a piston out the side of the engine. It just went quiet.
Yeah, it wasn't spectacular or amazing for TV. It was just he stopped, which is a bit rubbish, really. I mean...
Well, absolutely.
I completely... Shall we get the thing out of the room and his frustration?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's since apologised publicly, and voluntarily. He wasn't made to apologise. I've seen his tweet that he put out this morning, which is good on you, good on him, especially what the comments he's said in the past about, well, that's been memed to death since. But yeah, no, he's a racing driver at the end of the day. He's had a massive failure. It's totally understandable. So I think the FIA's response to that has been pretty damn fair. He's been given a $5,000 fine for it, which in George F1 racing terms is about 50p, but it's also been suspended. So he doesn't actually have to pay that $5,000 unless he does it again or something similar over the next 12 months. It was a suspended fine, which I think was actually very fair of the FIA and quite understanding. They obviously had to do something because it was against the rules, but I think they've, for a change, been quite fair. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, when you throw like a headrest onto the track, it's dangerous. It's a bit of debris on the thing. You can't be doing that. However, you are fighting for a championship. This is what you've dreamed about, and it's massively gone wrong. You've got this young little whippersnapper that is currently storming with a 43-point lead. Is he going to do a Piastri last year and fail at the end, or is he going to do a Norris and just storm away with it? I don't know. But for George, he must be really needing to buckle down and start again. And I would fully understand why he was so annoyed. The fact that he literally stood up and punched the car and then he ripped his gloves off, I would probably do the same.
It was interesting, actually. I mean, yes, you've got the initial anger and frustration, but when he went through the fence to the other side and you could see him, and he was basically straight in front of the spectators, wasn't he? He couldn't hide anywhere. I think his body language was pretty telling. And I've kind of mentioned this before on previous pods, where I think he is struggling. He was always under the impression from his early days that Toto was going to bring him into a winning team. Instead, he went to Williams and fought tooth and nail in that, and actually got some pretty decent results, I thought, for the car that he had. He obviously had a spell or two in the top flight Merc whilst it was still a rocket ship, and did pretty well in that. So all the time he's thinking, yeah, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Finally gets to Merc and they build him a donkey. Lewis leaves and he's finally driver number one. Great. This year they finally build him a rocket ship and he's still nowhere. His world must just have fallen apart. He's had this promise for so long. This young lad comes in from apparently nowhere.
He's skipped one of the lower formulas and straight into Formula 2. And like George, Antonelli's been sort of under Toto's wing. I mean, when George got back to the pits, actually, Toto put his arm around him, said, it's all right, we'll sort it out. But for Antonelli just to jump straight into a Merc is very, very strange. Do you reckon he might be like a generational talent in a way?
Do you know what I do? No, do you know what I actually do? And I was going to bring this up. It kind of speaks to the sort of level of respect that he's being given by Toto and the team, but also the other drivers. And this isn't, I'm trying to think. I don't think George got the same level of respect that Kimi's currently enjoying. Kimi was lifted a hoist by Lewis and whoever was on the podium. I can't remember. And then the hugs from Max, everybody in the paddock is seeing something in Kimi that they didn't see in George. And that has got to be getting to George. It's got to be. But that level of respect that he's been shown to me and the way he's driving, now 4 on the bounce. I said in the last show, I didn't think he could get 4 in the bounce because he's not Max Verstappen. Maybe he is. Maybe he's at the early point of his career, much like Max was in the early days, and we are going to see him win 4, 5, 6, 7 championships in the future. I am beginning to think he is that kind of same generational talent. I think he's got that something extra. He's got that something special. I think George knows it too. And maybe George is seeing this as his, perhaps not his only championship chance, but certainly his best championship chance at the moment.
I think the massive issue is, at the start of this season, he wasn't struggling. He had really good form and it was going so well. And remember, he's known as Mr. Saturday from the Williams car. Yeah. He got that thing where it shouldn't be. He just couldn't keep the race pace, which is where it all went wrong.
Yeah.
Now he's got the chance to do that. And for some reason, as he said on one of the interviews that the gods are against him. When you're thinking that, you really need to sort your mind out. And I don't know how he's going to manage it. Also, because everyone does love Kimi, like you said, I think because Kim came into F1 and he's got the Merc, he's also got a blank slate. Whereas George was in a Williams fighting on the back. He got into a few sort of crashes and he was quite vocal about it. I know we've spoken on previous podcasts about how the media definitely views him as a bit of a whinger, which I understand. However, it's a high pressure job. You're taking a tiny little excerpt about what you've said at 300 miles an hour. It's not reflective of how you actually feel overall. It's just in that one moment. And I think because Kimi hasn't had that sort of comments, that's probably why he's viewed in a better light. He's also young. He's really humble, funny, whereas George is a bit more of a meme. I mean, I've seen the oat milk latte.
He does. Kimi's taking things in his stride. He has whined and moaned, and very funnily Toto told him to basically shut the up. You can insert a beep in there later, which was hilarious. And he's got his moments, but George tends to do it in the interviews as well after the race. I've said it before a couple of times. He needs to just stop talking and start driving. And to be honest, for me, in the main race, I think he did that. He was leading comfortably. I mean, I was loving the battle between them because they were in like first and second, unlike Ferrari when they do it and they're third, fourth, or fourth, fifth. They were fighting for the lead of the race. So to see them battle like that was brilliant. From a spectator point of view, that's actually now pretty good. It is entertaining again. It doesn't look quite as false as it did. Because they're also in the same car, even machinery, same track, same conditions, same tyres at that point. So it was down to driver. Everything else was the same. So to see them battle like that was brilliant. And at the point at which George has his failure, he was leading, and I think pulling out a lead, if I remember rightly, as well. So he was doing it. He was using track to talk, which is what he needs to do. He just needs to rein it in during the interviews for me. I think Monaco will be difficult. If he can't get ahead of Kimi in quali, it doesn't really matter what car you've got around Monaco. Passing's incredibly, it's almost impossible, isn't it? I don't know. I reckon Kimi's on the roll at the moment. George isn't. He's got confidence, self-belief at the moment, and he's just as quick.
But what Kimi can do, though, which is really shocked me. So on the Saturday, obviously, he literally treated his F1 car like a lawnmower. And I literally thought, watching the sprint race and looking how almost violent it was in a way of how he was attacking George and going so deep and dive bombing. And then the next day, Kimi acted like nothing had happened the day before, and it was just a fresh race, a fresh mind. Like, he completely leveled himself again, and that showed. And also, that's probably the reason that he didn't do too many stupid things. He made a few mistakes in the race itself. I think that the way that he just composed himself again, and to say he's only 19 years old as well, this didn't happen with Verstappen. He was known as Christappen. It didn't happen with Hamilton, with the Alonso stuff. He is a rookie to watch because you've seen that he composed himself. He's also in what is arguably the fastest car, if you can even argue that it is. It's just going to go really well for him if he can keep that mentality. He's got the machines, he's got the team. He just needs to keep the mentality, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in Lewis's first year, he wasn't supposed to win. In fact, he wasn't supposed to win in his second year either, to be fair. And he came so close in that first year. It was ridiculous. And then went through and won it in the second year. I'm getting the same feeling with Kimi. If he doesn't, it'll be by the finest of margins. Okay, McLaren. Disaster is the only thing you could use to describe their weekend. Norris has since put his hand up and admitted he pushed for the Inters. Fair play to him. Didn't have to do that. He's taken that one on the chin. An absolute crazy, disastrous decision, but also an understandable one. We're in Canada. The chance of rain is high. It's pretty much been forecast, and yet you're sat on a grid that is currently dry. He wasn't the only one. And McLaren weren't the only ones to start on Inters. There was a team or two further down the pack that also started on Inters, but obviously that didn't matter as much. They were in such a good position to potentially fight for this win. And judging by the first 2-3 corners, they very much could have done. I mean, that rocket ship start of Norris was brilliant, but it was all for nothing because we all knew within next to no time he was going to have to pit for some softs.
But Norris's starts have improved massively compared to what he used to do. He flew around that, and that, to be fair, it would have been a very, very different race if there hadn't been all these retirements. If Piastri hadn't have gone into the side of Albon and everything had gone right, it would have been a complete shake of the grid. But I mean, you could say about any race and retirements, generally speaking.
We also have to acknowledge the fact that Norris's poor starts were always up against Max. And there was always a bit of a thing between him and Max, having been such good friends off the track. That was always an issue. And I do think that was getting in his head because Max isn't there anymore. Perhaps that pressure's gone. I can't ignore it anymore, Zach. I'm sorry. I can't. You sat there in a Ferrari top. I can't ignore the result much longer and not mention it.
Does anyone know who my favourite driver is? I might have mentioned it a few times.
Let's talk about it. It's been a hell of a long time coming. He's had his win in a sprint race last year, and now he's finally firmly on the podium in a very well-deserved second place. Lewis Hamilton, welcome home.
After 29 race starts, he's finally got his podium. I don't class last year's China sprint as a win because the next race they both got banned with plank wear, so the car was probably running illegally. But I think this is, it was a little bit unfortunate about all the retirements. That's the main reason that Lewis and Max are on the podium. I'm not taking that away from them. They capitalised on other people's mistakes and misfortunes. However, them last 6 laps of Hamilton chasing down Verstappen was absolutely incredible. The fact that I think Verstappen almost went into the wall of champions, which is a little bit different. And then just after Lewis took over, Verstappen made a slight error behind him and he gained a couple of seconds and Lewis was off in the distance, basically. And it was so nice to see them battling again. But it wasn't 2021. It was really, really amicable. And it was watching two of the greats of the sport having a lot more respect for each other. Might be because they're not chasing for a championship anymore. I mean, Verstappen's checked out basically at this point. But it was so nice to see that love for each other and the love for the driving.
Yeah, everybody always harks back to 21, and for good reason, because it was the FIA, not the drivers that got involved, to be fair. Max just maximised on a situation. This time around, however, it was totally different. Yes, all right, there were retirements that bumped them up higher in the grid. So all they did was really maximise the situation and take advantage when those retirements did happen. So that is just motorsport, pure and simple. For me, it wasn't what they were doing, because the fight was brilliant to see that again between the two of them. It was how they went about it. there wasn't the insane dive bombs from nowhere. And then again in the cool down room, the respect that you could see physically between them, that's changed. That was to multiple world champions who have matured over the years and have drove hard but fair. And that's hugely important. That's a massive difference. I think probably Max's other motorsport endeavors with GT and stuff and sim stuff has probably chilled him out a bit, maybe. Or maybe it's his family that's chilled him out. I don't know. But there's definitely been a maturity developed between the two of them. And it was so great to see. It was so great to see. I'm really glad that the car held up for him. I did say in the previous show, I didn't think Lewis had the car under him. Clearly, I was wrong. It's much further ahead than I thought it was going to be with the upgrades, so fair play to that. The car worked well. He was loving driving it. It's right in Lewis's window on a track Lewis traditionally loves and has a hell of a lot of success at. And it showed, I believe he said that was the best race, the most enjoyable race he's had in ages. And it showed. It was genuine happiness on his face, which is lovely to see. And he scored it on the very same weekend that his younger brother, Nick Hamilton, scored the Jack Sears Trophy win in the BTCC. So we have a double podium finish for both Hamiltons this weekend. Brilliant. Love it for both of them. Leclerc, however, let's go to the other side of the garage, shall we?
So what I didn't understand was why he had such a bad weekend. So he didn't feel as comfortable in the car, which is fair enough, like the setup change and all this sort of stuff. But to actually come on an interview and say it's your worst weekend of the year so far, I think that's a little bit too extreme. I think that there's more he could have got out of the car. I think he wasn't happy with the setups and he was losing sort of like half a second on some laps just because he didn't feel comfortable planting it into the floor and he trusted the car. But it wasn't that bad of a weekend for him. But then saying that, if you look on the other weekends where he has done good, he's been like 2 or 3 positions above Hamilton. And now was he one below or something like that?
Leclerc was 4th. To be fair, he also had a bit of another moment towards the end of the race. Very nearly binned it, but just about kept hold of it. Don't know what the hell's going on with him, because he's normally better than that. And that's now twice in 2 races. He was very lucky to keep that out of the wall, to be fair. Very lucky indeed. I don't think it's a mental issue. I think it's just a plain old setup issue for Charles.
Yeah.
On his side, we are now going to Monaco, which is his back garden, literally. He goes well at Monaco. If he can get the car in the right window early enough in the weekend, like during the practice sessions or possibly like early doors quali, we could see him well and truly up there. Whether or not he can fight for pole, don't know. Merck have obviously brought their upgrade package now, so I think getting that, he's going to have to really pull out some major risks, I think, to try and get pole around Monaco ahead of Merck. So if he can get 3rd and get a great start off the line during the race, that's probably his best route to winning that race.
Yeah.
I don't see another way, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, the qualifying part, that's going to be Mercedes, just hands down. He's also got the issue of maybe some Ferrari strategy being an issue. And then McLaren, I reckon they can pull something out the bag. And because it is basically merry-go-round and there won't be much overtaking, it's all about Saturday. And I just don't think he can do it.
I'm not sure. We've been to some tracks where traditionally there haven't been a huge amount of overtakes, and the technology with the overboost and whatnot has created quite a lot. You're going to have to be really ballsy to get up alongside another car in Monaco and hit that boost button, because you're going to have to make sure that you can pull that pass off in a foreshortened distance before the track naturally narrows and you run out of road.
Yeah.
Not sure. I mean, Max certainly will be ballsy enough, but if you get that wrong, it's gonna be game over.
Even if you do it on like the tunnel straight, you've still got a lot of braking and then 2 tight turns full into all the little turns by the bay. You're probably only going to use it on the pit straight, I imagine.
Yeah,
because
probably.
everywhere else is barrier time, basically.
I think if he gets it nailed, I think Charles has got a good chance, to be honest, of sticking it on pole. It'll be tight. If he doesn't, if he at least gets third and gets a rocket ship Ferrari type launch, and they get the pit stops right, which they have been doing a lot better on Strat recently of Ferrari, so we've got to give them the dues. We haven't seen them taking their time making decisions. We haven't seen questionable decisions either. I think they're actually in a fairly good place. So if they can get in front, especially in Monaco, that's probably their best chance at getting a win. But like you say, there's the McLarens as well. They will be back, and they have got rocket ships, and they've got a couple of drivers there who can drive. So again, I've no doubt they'll be in the mix as well. It does seem like McLaren's just edged it on Ferrari in terms of pace at the moment, but
yeah,
I'm not sure.
No, they will definitely have a strong one in Monaco, and I think it's just so unfortunate that Piastri took a bit of a deep dive and went into with Albon, I think. So he was basically out the race, and then obviously Norris with his gearbox. Like they should have been up there. One of them should have been on the podium and making everyone's life quite more difficult than it has been for Canada, basically.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about that whole Piastri thing? Was it a technology-based problem? Was it a deceleration issue? Then he just ran out of space? Or was it just a plain old mistake?
Oh, definitely a mistake. I mean, when looking at the onboard, he was just going around the corner, and the turning circles on the cars at slow speeds aren't that great generally. He just overcooked it, basically. I mean, if it had been a little bit further over, you would have just missed, and we've seen that time and time again of where they slip through the S's, and it looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
he just misjudged it and went into the side pod, which was unfortunately game over for Albon, and then game over for Piastri as well. Yeah, just racing.
Not long later. It's not the sort of thing that Piastri does, though, is it?
He is probably part of the independent party, I think, at this point. He's sort of on his own, in a way.
Yeah, I think you're right with that.
Him and Webber, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked long about where he could go. But I guess that all hinges on what Max does. Speaking of which, actually, he's not been shy in talking about the future regs. I was watching a clip yesterday of him, and he was talking about, having his eyes opened to what pure racing looks like again. With the whole GT stuff, he's gone, he's questioning what he's doing. It's like, why am I in a sport that's so complex that most spectators and fans don't even have a clue what they're doing or going through before they even get to racing, and how they have to prepare and all that, when it can go GT racing and it just be pure power, pure delivery, pure racing craft. And he's seeing polar opposites here, and he's not liking what he's seeing in F1. I think the whole going back to the ICE engines in 28, he likes, but he's not happy with the timescale. He wants it sooner rather than later. And I think he wants the 60-40 split next year, but there's only Merck and is it Red Bull, I think, that are up for it. Everybody else has got their doubts or doesn't really want to. I mean, people like Audi, for instance, have come into the sport based on these very regulations we have now. So then to lose that, are we then risking Audi's involvement in future years?
I don't think Audi will just leave. I mean, Honda, maybe, because it's Honda and they keep leaving the sport. It's annoying. But when you've put so much money into the sport already, yes, it might have been misleading. But I think what the FIA could probably say to Audi is, look, have you seen these backlashes? Have you seen that our 4-time world championship has been very vocal about it? We need to change it. And also the president of the FIA are on about going back to V8s. There is just so much negative energy on the current regulations that Audi won't be able to say, this wasn't what we agreed to. They can see the changes. They're not daft. The actual combustion part isn't really important anymore. Even though it's 50-50, it's all about harvesting the battery, powering the battery, make sure the battery works. Unless you're George Russell, your engine's doing all right, basically. Yeah. And that's just how it's going to go. And just to change a slight 10% ratio is just not good enough. But it's what you can do with the things that you're given. They can't just rip everything up. The teams have put billions into all development and research. It needs to change, and it will be further down the line, which is why Verstappen probably just needs to take a sabbatical. He's not happy. He should go for a couple of years, do the Le Mans, do your GT3, be absolutely amazing at everything you ever step foot in, and then come back to F1 when we're ready for you, because at the moment it's not doing you justice.
He won't come back. If he leaves, he's gone. He'll go to GTs and he'll become a world champion, and he won't look back. He's disillusioned with F1 because it's not pure racing, and he is a pure racer. Pure and simple. He's already said he's not interested. If he goes, he goes.
That'd be crazy if that happens.
Yeah, but if he goes, if Max leaves, let's be extreme and say 27 next year. We've already mentioned Kimi Antonelli. Could he take his position? Could Kimi replace Max as the GOAT? As the new GOAT, especially if he managed to seal the championship this year? That would be championship one on a road to multiples. Toto's in a position where if he can't have Max Verstappen, which let's face it, he does, he can have the next best thing. I mean, have you heard? He's also got a Max Verstappen rule now, where he's told the drivers to think, what would Max do?
Yeah. Which is a bit stupid because they're all their own person, and that just puts so much pressure on you.
It does, but I get it. It's like, well, don't make a move that he wouldn't, or conversely, make a move that he would, because he's always been a bit of a wily fox as Max. Right, I think we've pretty much covered most things, but there is one more thing that we need to address. Possibly the best point of the entire weekend was the safety marshal, head first through it. Genius move. You are the absolute superstar of the event for me. That was quality. And he just sort of, he didn't amble. He was sort of jogging, wasn't he? But it was so funny the way that he went to pick that up and then just threw himself through the hole.
You try running in massive overalls, dressed like a traffic cone, pick this one piece of cardboard up, dive through, your hand's still on the side that you're gripping for life, and you're definitely taking that piece home with you. That's going in your bag.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or on eBay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably bolted to his wall by now. And fair play to him as well. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
It was funny.
Definitely a highlight of the evening, to be honest, because you never normally see marshals, and if you do, they're a little bit jogging around, or they're messing the race up because they're really slow at something. But
sometimes
that dive through the window is
class.
That was definitely a bet from one of the other marshals, wasn't it?
Yeah, we pulled it off so well. I mean, that could have ended so badly. Oh, but it was just, I to God, there was something on the other side of the fence that he landed on. Because going through it head first, hopefully there was like a tyre stack or something that saved him, but it was funny and well played.
That was his 3 seconds of fame, and it did really well. That's going down in meme land, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, that's going to stay put, I think. We'll still be talking about that for a while. Right then, shall we do some predictions again? Another chance for me to make a fool of myself. I'll go first this time. I think I'm going to go with someone who has gone well around Monaco. Someone who knows it very well because they live there. And somebody who's got a pretty damn good chance of qualifying well, but also getting ahead of the Mercs by the first corner. So in first, I'm going to put Charles Leclerc. I really want to see him get a decent result for a change. It'll do his head the world of good. I think he needs it. So Charles first. Again, I'm going to say Antonelli in second, because again, I'm going to put my neck out there and say that he can't do 5 on the bounce, which is his opportunity to prove that he can, I would think. Norris, Hamilton. Screw it, I'm going to go Hamilton for third. So Charles Leclerc, Antonelli, Hamilton.
And here I am, sat in a Ferrari t-shirt, but I don't think that Leclerc can get in first. I reckon Russell, he's my number one. Oh. He's got something to prove. He's got the car underneath him, and he's got the track record as Mr. Saturday. And once you qualify in first, generally speaking, you're all right. And he's got his gremlins out the way, I hope. For second, a little bit of wishful thinking, as always. But I'm going to go for Norris. I think he can do it. I think the McLaren's definitely got a powerful car under him, and they can definitely get around Monaco. It just depends if everything goes right. But I reckon Norris in second. And then I think I'm going to agree with you that Leclerc needs to get a pole. Probably can do it. I reckon Leclerc in third, as it's his home, along with every other F1 driver, legally speaking.
Yeah, but he was born there. That really is his true home. Are you sure you want to pick Mercedes, given that their engine trick is disappearing from Monaco? I'll give you a chance to change it. You are?
No, I'm going to keep with it.
You're sticking with it? Okay. Brave move.
Because you've got to remember, even though the engine's been banned, where can you really overtake in Monaco, realistically? And their engine trick's banned, but they've still got a fast car. I mean, you're talking very few points off how powerful it can be. And in Monaco, you can't always maximise it if your engine's weak, so it's not too bad. I'd probably want to change my idea if it was like a longer track or an actual place you can overtake, but because it's Monaco, I reckon that's my top 3. And I'm already winning 1-0 at the moment, just to add that in there.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing that in again. No, in all fairness, I agree with you, to be fair. I don't think the engine trick will make that much of a difference. However, I do still think that the Ferrari small turbo is going to come to them in Monaco. If it's going to come to them anywhere and stick, Monaco's the place that it's going to happen. Right, okay, mate. It's absolutely bloody roasting today, and I've sat here diligently chatting F1 with you, but I'm slowly cooking. I'm slowly boiling, so I'm going to call it, if that's all right with you.
Not a problem at all. I'll see you next time for Monaco.
Yes, you will. Nice speaking to you again, mate. Nice seeing you again.
And you. Bye.
All right. See you later.